Hi, I'm Chris Thomas, and thanks for joining me for another of my fountain pen reviews. Today we're going to be looking at an Italian pen, the Stipula Passaporto, a pocket pen, a very miniature pen, as you'll see when I open the box. It's a pen that I had sent over from the United States. I bought it from the Pen Chalet on a really good deal, $47 as one of their, I think, closeout deals. Arrived very promptly, great service from the Pen Chalet. And it's an interesting pen, not without one or two reservations, which I'm going to talk you through as we go through the review. So, first of all, comes in this red box, typical Stipula styling. It's got the Stipula logo, etc., embossed on the front in gold. Pretty simple packaging. Solid enough, but nothing particularly exciting. Little sticker on the side here telling us that it's Passport fountain pen, black resin, stainless steel nib. I've gone for the medium. It's available in a fine, a medium, and a broad, and it's also available in a range of colours. I've gone for the black, as I'll show you in a second. There is a clear version, there's a blue version, so there are a number of different options. The nib, medium nib, is my nib of choice. I do have one or two reservations about the nib with the pen, which again I'll talk through in a second. But let's get the box open and have a look at what's inside. Slide open as such. We have a couple of cards, which one of which is a warranty and user guide, which talks you through various options. I think this is actually a generic guide for all Stipula pens, so it's not specific to the Passaporto. It talks you through different filling mechanisms, etc. And I think you'll probably find the same booklet in all Stipula pen boxes. There's also a little card that just invites you to register the card with Jaffa, who are the American distributors, I believe. And the pen itself, which comes tucked under. There's a white soft backing, which does lift out with a ribbon across the top, behind which is secured the pen and an eyedropper. I would add that there was a Stipula cartridge, which is now in the pen, as I haven't filled it as an eyedropper yet, that came as well. So the pen itself, it's black resin. This is a tiny pen. I mean, it really is a small pen. I've got a couple of Kaweco Sports, which are real favourites of mine. I love the Kawecos. And this is actually, in comparison, when you take the cap off, a shorter pen. I mean, it really is tiny. I've got quite chunky hands, and there's no way you could use it without posting it, and we'll talk about the posting again in a second. You could maybe make a few marks and what have you, but certainly with my hands I would find it very difficult. The cap does post, and you've got to give it a little bit of a shove. It tightens up reasonably well, and you're then able to use it in the normal way. And I have to say, when you've done that, it is quite comfortable. I have no great problems. I've had the pen for a couple of weeks now, used it fairly extensively, and using it in this way, I don't find any great problems. There's a very short twist to screw the barrel into the cap, literally about a half a revolution, and you'll feel it tighten, and it's a good tight fastening. And as you'll see, whoops, without dropping it, the length of the pen is pretty much equal between cap and barrel. So just having another quick look at that cap, there's a silver band with the Stipula leaf logo, which actually stands out from the cap, which has got a nice little touch. It's a very plain and simple pen, but in many ways that's perhaps its attraction. The only real detail is that band and Stipula logo. So I quite like that. I think it just adds a little bit of it just adds something to the pen, really, which otherwise it would be. Whoops, I have dropped it now. Otherwise it would be very plain indeed, but looks nice. So let's take that off. I'm just going to unscrew the barrel from the nib section, and you can see there's a good stiff thread on that, and that comes off as so. And there you can see the cartridge. Now, Part of the attraction of this pen for people that like to use eyedroppers, I have to say I'm not a great fan of eyedropper pens as such. In saying that, I'm not a great fan of cartridges neither, but I think I probably will try this as an eyedropper in due course, just to get away from the cartridge. And obviously it will hold a fair bit of ink. It's not a large barrel, but you'll get a reasonable amount of ink that I think will keep you going in there for a while. The other thing I should add, by the way, is that the barrel has the word Stipula. I'm not sure whether you can see that, possibly not, maybe just about. Has the word Stipula embossed on it, and on the other side I think it says words to the effect of made in Florence or Florence, which is the home of Stipula pens. So let's just pop that back on there. There is, as I say, a good tight thread on this. You might, if you were going to use it as an eyedropper, just want to pop a little bit of silicone grease on there. There is an O-ring, and actually I've just tightening that up again. It really is good and tight, so I would have no worries about that in terms of ink leakage if you were using it as an eyedropper. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the nib. The nib for me was a little bit of a disappointment. I went for the medium. I have to say, for me, this is more of a fine, and hopefully you might just be able to see here. There's a little bit of line variation. I mean, you can see that I've got some broader lines where I've really applied a fair bit of pressure, along with some thinner lines which are applied with no real pressure. So it really does err on the fine side for me. Reasonably wet. I mean, I think probably wet to the point that I wouldn't necessarily need to do a huge amount with the nib. I might do a little bit in due course, but you can see that there is some wetness there, which is really not too bad. So I'm going to use it a little bit more before I decide whether to do any more with that. And from a convenience point of view, it is a very handy little pen. It obviously does what it says. It's a pocket-sized fountain pen. It will go easily in a pocket. It'll go easily in a purse. It's a very useful little pen for carrying around with you. I use it in my Maxpedition Micro carrying pouch, which I take a few bits and pieces around with me in, and there's a little band in there that it fits very neatly into. So it's quite useful if you want to take a pen and don't want to carry a full-size pen with you, etc. And it's also an alternative to the Kavekos, which I think many people have got, and which, as I said, I enjoy particularly. Probably more so, to be fair, with the nibs on the Kavekos than this Stipula. So there you have it. Interesting little pen. Hope you've enjoyed the review. I'll be posting more reviews over the coming weeks, and look forward to having you with me once again in the near future. Bye bye now.